Welcome back to the Math Review. In this lesson, we're going over the two kinds of number lines. The first of the two number lines is a number line that looks like this. And it's a number line that has an arrow on one end on the left side, and then it's a straight line across, and then it has an arrow on the other end. And this has a specific name, and that name is the horizontal number line. And one way to remember that this is a horizontal number line is this word horizon. If you've ever been to the beach and you're standing on the sand and you're looking at where the water meets the sky, that straight line across where the sun rises and the sun sets, that straight line from left to right, straight across, is called the horizon. And that's why a line going straight across is called the horizontal number line. The second number line we're talking about is called a vertical number line. And one way to remember the vertical number line is that the letter V looks like an arrow going down, because a vertical number line is straight up and down. And that V looks just like an arrow going down. So this is a vertical number line. And again, an easy way to remember that it's a vertical number line is that the V in vertical looks like an arrow going down. So again, vertical number lines go up and down. And vertical number lines are used a whole lot whenever you're talking about temperature, or if you're talking about this thing called elevation. And that's when you measure the depth of something or the height of something based on sea level. Anything positive is what's called above sea level, and anything negative is below sea level. Now let's get into a little bit more depth about number lines. So number lines do two things. First, they go on forever in both directions. That's an important thing to remember. And that's exactly why they have these arrows on the ends. These arrows mean that they go on forever and ever in both directions. And number lines also contain all the numbers that exist. Those numbers are written on these little marks on the number lines called tick marks. And again, that can be any kind of number. And one of the most important numbers is the number 0. Because that 0 separates the numbers on the right, which are positive numbers, from the numbers on the left, which are negative numbers. And just because these are integers, in other words, positive numbers that are whole, negative numbers that are whole, or the number 0, it doesn't stop there. On the number line, you can also have numbers that are fractions, mixed numbers, or decimals. But we'll cover how that looks in a different lesson. I also want to make sure we understand one really important thing. Number lines don't have to be nice and pretty like this, where you got 0 in the middle and just negatives on the left and positives on the right and ending in their opposites. In other words, this number line here has -9 on this end, +9 on this end, and 0 in the middle. Not all number lines will look like that, and that's okay. Let's take a look at an example. So here we have a number line, and it's absolutely fine. Even though this number line ends on the left at -9 and ends on the right at -5, this number line is perfectly fine. And what makes it fine are these arrows here at the ends. So even though it looks like it ends at -5, if we wanted to extend it, we could. And it's all totally okay because of this arrow here. Remember that this arrow means that the numbers extend forever in that direction. It also extends here, but we only have space on the right. And if we did continue the number line in this direction, to the right we would have -4, then -3, then -2, then -1, and all the way on and on and on. Even this arrow here That means to the right we would have positive 10, then positive 11. Remember, it goes on forever. And number lines don't just have to have only negative numbers. It can look like this, where it can have both negative and positive numbers, and it doesn't have to end with opposites on either end. This end ends in -1, and this end ends in +4. And again, that's totally okay. And what makes it okay are these arrows at the ends, because we know that these arrows mean that the numbers go on forever in both directions. On the left side, it would look like this. We would have -2, then -3, then -4, and it would keep going on and on to -9 and even further because of the arrow. And on this end, what do you think will go next? Well, since we're counting by ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, the next number would be +5, then 6, then 7, then 8, then 9, and even though the numbers written stop here, the actual numbers on the number line go on forever and ever in that direction. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on the Math Review.